Nobody knows it.
Nobody knows.
But don't break my heart.
Don't break my heart.
Let's start off with Warp Your Own Way. Congratulations. Very excited about this story. How did this piece of the Star Trek IDW universe come to be? It seems very different than some of the other pieces. So what was the inspiration for this one in particular?
Selfishly, I've always wanted to do an interactive choose your own adventure comic. I got to play with it a little bit when I was working in the Deadpool office. We would play with mechanics all the time, but that would be for like 20 pages at a time, right? And I like challenges. And so when I started working on the Star Trek comics and we were doing Lower Decks, it was just an obvious choice to experiment with this idea. I pitched it to Mike McMahon, the show creator at San Diego Comic-Con 2 years ago. He was super into it. And I went to this guy one day and was like, hey, Ryan, I know you're really busy, but I have this idea. And he couldn't say no.
It was literally a thing you can't refuse. Yeah, it was such a perfect idea and such a precision designed project that I could not say no to. I was like, yes, I can't not do this right now. It was great.
You obviously have some experience with these characters and got an Eisner nomination for playing with, with Shaxs and the Day of Blood story. So congratulations.
Thank you.
With that.
It's very exciting.
We're knock on wood, tonight's a good night for you and the IDW team. But I would just love to hear your involvement with Jackson and Colin and Chris, just putting everything together for that story in particular, because it really has a fun place within the world of Day of Blood.
Yeah.
But it really does stand alone beautifully.
My understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this was started as like a joke for what is Shaxs doing during this? He's having his best day ever. And eventually someone was like, we could do this.
So we were in the writer's room for Day of Blood breaking down what the entire event was going to be. And at that time, Jackson and Colin were asking if they could use live action version of Shaxs and Arc 2 of Star Trek in issue 6 through 10. But we didn't know yet whether or not we had Paramount's blessing to use this character. And so we had to build the plot of the event with the idea that we might not be able to use Shaxs. And so when we paired Data off with Lore and, Cisco with Worf and, so on and so forth, and plotted out what they were doing in the various issues, literally on the whiteboard, I have a picture of this. It's Shaxs is having his best day. And as he said, it was a writer's room joke where it was just, and Shaxs is having his best day. And when we left that event, I went to Jamie Rich, who was my boss at the time, and I was like, could we do this? Like, could I get another issue? And pitched it to Paramount. Paramount was into the idea. And so it's like, much like Warp Your Own Way, hey, Ryan, I know you're really busy, but what do you think about doing this?
Yeah, that was it. And, it's such a fun premise, and I could instantly see, like, we could do an issue, which I've never done, basically all fight scene, and tell a story, tell an emotional story, have an arc for Shaxs, escalate really interesting ways. And it's Lower Decks, and it's funny, but it's also really sincere, and he is really having his best day. So there's just like, it's very nice to have Heather contact you and be like, here's an awesome thing you should do. And you go, okay, yes, I will.
It's awesome for me too. I think the other thing too is, Star Trek is not a very violent property, you know.
Yes.
It's not pew pew batless, you know, blah 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 blah. And so, you know, to have a title of Day of Blood, we really have to be careful and you know, use our batlets sparingly throughout that. And so this was a cool opportunity to really like show how violent this insurrection was, you know, for the Klingon Empire and everything, and really lean into that with some fun cartoon violence, which Derek Charm, no pun intended, killed.
No, and the fact that it is Lower Deck style means we can show like a decapitation, and it reads as comedy, and not just like, oh my god, look at all the viscera there. Like it lets us sort of have our cake and eat it too in that sense.
Well, our friends at IDW have let us in on a little secret that we're keeping until after your panel. But Lower Decks, the comic series,
Oh
is
yes,
ongoing.
like, what is this secret? Tell me more.
Well, apparently you're writing it, so
Yes.
I hope you know a little bit more than I do about it.
Yes, I've already written 5 issues.
How are you approaching these characters for this new ongoing? Is it going to be more serialized? Is it going to be more standalones for each issue where it feels more episodic in nature?
The thing that attracted me was this idea of what if we did do little episodes, like little 2-parters that feel like they could go in different directions. The nice thing about Star Trek is that it has such, especially Lower Decks, has such a breadth of storytelling, different ways you can do. And you can do funny, you can do serious, you can do happy, you can do all this different stuff. Sometimes it doesn't all fit in the same story. If you're doing one 5-issue arc, you're kind of committed to that story for a long time. But if we're doing these little 2-parters that are, I say little, they're not little, they're big stories, but they can go in different directions. So it feels, to me, like a season of the TV show. I feel like that would be episode 1, and this is episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that sort of stuff. It doesn't feel like it's something intrinsically different. It feels like this is a Lower Decks comic, and it's still a Lower Decks comic.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about Star Trek, though, and Star Trek storytelling in general, is it is so episodic in a way that you know, yes, there is an arc overall from season to season of Strange New Worlds or TNG or TOS or things like that, but you really can, you know, pick up any episode and enjoy it and you know, follow the story and along with the characters. And Lower Decks is no different in that.
And I think it's really interesting as far as timing. You know, we know that Lower Decks is coming to an end with the upcoming season, but we get to see the adventures continue through this medium, and the fact that you guys are launching this as an ongoing, hopefully there's a lot of potential and room for you to play bigger picture.
Yeah. I mean, I wish the show was continuing because I feel like it's... I mean, I wish all the shows were continuing, really. Like, I'm very selfish in that way. I'm like, I like my favorite shows to continue, but it doesn't feel like there is a natural endpoint on the horizon where, like, this is where this story should end. And so it's wide open to further adventures. In my opinion, you might disagree, Heather.
Oh, it ends after we've done 1,000 issues and won 30 Eisners and and done Shaxs' best month and year.
Fortnite.
Well, I would love to hear your first interactions with the world of Star Trek. Is there a specific captain that really resonated with you, or a specific story that is the most memorable that, you know, is the first thing that comes to mind?
The earliest Star Trek I can remember is we didn't have cable growing up, and so when we saw an episode, it was a rare and special treat. So it was weird it was on TV. But I have a very clear memory of watching, it was TNG, and it was Remember Me, which is a great episode. And I also remember watching TOS in the basement later on over the air for free. And this was at a time in my life, I was young, I thought I didn't know that shows could be bad. I didn't know that every episode wasn't what it was intended to be. And so there's one, I think it's called The Alternative Factor, where there's an antimatter guy and a matter guy, and they battle each other for eternity. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I looked up a Memory Alpha like last month, and it's like, this is one of the worst episodes of TOS. And I was like, I thought it ruled. I didn't know that, you know, that it really troubled production. They were changing storylines and trying to get this story to work, and it never broke properly. For me, I was just like, what a mind-bending premise. What a cool thing. And I love that even like what is thought to be one of the worst episodes of TOS is one of my favorites, and it has that resonance. Even when it's bad, I'm still like, this is the coolest thing on television.
Well, I know we're over on time, but I just want to say congratulations again. You know, the Eisner nomination
Oh,
is
thank you.
well deserved for
Thank
that
you.
book.
That's
And
very kind.
it's so much fun. The energy in that book is amazing. So I hope you get to continue to channel that into your future stories. And, you know, on behalf of fans, we're excited.
That's very kind. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Stay tuned for more coverage at Comics Online.